Alright guys, this is No Dramas here. Today I want to talk all about Champion Select. Now I think Champion Select is one of these things that is really overlooked by most of the League of Legends community. I do agree you can basically win with any picks in your team, but having a good team comp from the get-go is a guaranteed way to increase your chances of winning a game. Now there are three major things I want to cover in this video, but I'm going to start it off with the biggest one, which is going to be pick what your team needs. Now, I think a lot of people in Champion Select consider they need to have a bit of AD and AP in their team, maybe they need to have some Engage, but I think there are a few things that people don't consider which can really swing whether a game is won or lost. Now, firstly, you're going to basically, in every team, you're going to want some form of Waveclear, and that's basically because if you get ahead and you have Waveclear, you can push down lanes and siege turrets, and if you're behind and you have Waveclear, you can stall out a game and try and get to the late game. You can also want some poke, just to some degree. If you have no poke and they have a lot of poke, you're going to basically lose by getting kited. You're going to want some laning presence, quite likely. If you have basically 3 lanes full of weak laners, you're going to get pushed in the whole game, and their jungler is going to get free reign to basically counter jungle and snowball the game that way. So you're going to want at least one lane that is stronger than the other lane, at least in theory. And also, I think people forget, you're going to want some Disengage as well, if the enemy team has got a lot of strong Engage picked. Disengage is a really strong tool that I think is not focused on enough in solo queue, but it is a really good way of playing team fights and kiting out a team with a lot of Engage. Now the second point I want to focus on, which is again something that's really overlooked, is that if you have to blind pick, essentially if you have to pick like your top lane and your mid lane before the enemy has picked it, don't pick a laner that can be really easily counterpicked. Now I'm going to give the example of if you're playing ADC. If you pick Vayne first, there's such a high chance that the enemy team can just pick like Caitlyn and Karma and absolutely destroy you in lane if they know how to play those champions effectively. It is so risky and can basically lose all your advantage in your bottom lane and literally lose the game just because you've made a silly pick and just because you've basically not respected the enemy's ability to counterpick. That being said, if you are blind pick, you've either got to pick a champion that you're very comfortable with, as in you can play those kind of matchups, or a champion that generally doesn't have very many bad matchups. Like for instance, if you play top lane and you pick something like Poppy or Trundle, there are no real major counters to that unless someone picks Teemo or something, and in which case you're going to be more useful to the team anyway. So there are those really safe laners out there which you can pick, and I'd say if you don't have any of them in your roster at the moment, it's definitely worth picking some up. Like I'd say for example Orianna, Caitlyn and Trundle if you want the 3 lanes, and something like Lee Sin in the jungle. Now this brings me neatly onto my last point, which is basically if you get given the chance to counterpick, taking that chance is going to always give you a higher chance of winning your game, so it's definitely worth knowing how to counterpick and knowing what the counterpicks are, and knowing how to play those champions with counter all the different champions. I'd say don't ever pick a counterpick if you're not comfortable with playing that counterpick and like how to play the matchup. But if you have the chance to counterpick and you can do it successfully, it will massively increase your chance of winning a game, because you should be able to completely destroy and just shut down one part of their game and create a big advantage for yourself. Well, that concludes my ideas on how to win a Champion Select. I'd say if you want to test yourself, a really fun thing to do, and something I like to do, is when I'm watching like LCS or Worlds Finals are coming up, I like to look at the draft and sort of guess what champion's going to come next. This is a really good way for helping you to learn how and when to pick different champions, and it literally will give you a massive advantage in your solo queue games that a lot of people simply ignore. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and write a comment or something, it really helps me out. And subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content like this in the future.